Welcome to the Heart of the Volunteer. I'm Paul Cummings, and today I'm joined by Becca Sikorski from the Lakeshore Fire Department, which isn't too far from me. I love always getting a local interview; those are always fun. But Becca, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's get right into this. So you messaged me the other day, and your situation's a little bit different than most of the people that we're talking to, and in that you are a combination department, have some career
Yes.
members on staff along with some volunteers, and your personal situation is how it involves yourself in the fire department is kind of unique. So. Yeah, I do want to get into that. We're going to spend a lot of time because there's a deeper story there that I want to understand and I want to know. But before we do all that, how did the fire service come into your life?
Um, a very non-intentional way.
Okay.
I actually dated a firefighter for a couple of years. And then once our relationship ended, he actually was with my current house, and he left the fire service. And then I had been told, just what had happened in that scenario, and I had been presented with the opportunity to join the house, and I joined for all of the wrong reasons.
Okay.
But I have stayed for the right ones.
Right.
And I didn't join with the intention of doing all of what I've done or what I will be doing.
Sure.
I had intended on just being a part of the house because I missed being around that environment.
Yep.
And I had really hoped to do as minimal work as possible because I was terrified. I just
Right.
missed being around the environment. So I just said, okay. And it has unfolded in the past 2.5 years to be much more than I ever initially wanted or expected. So,
Okay, so 2.5 years.
yep,
So somewhat on the I would say newer side.
definitely newer. Yep.
Tell me a little bit about tell me a little bit about yourself outside the fire department right now. So what are the
Yeah.
things that you
So,
do? Obviously, you're a volunteer, not on
yep,
the career side of the staff.
correct. Yep.
So what keeps you busy during the day or at night or whenever you're working or whatever you're doing?
Yep. So, I own my own business. I am
For
a
you.
licensed nail technician. So I own my own nail studio.
Okay.
Actually in a town between us, I work in Owen and Hilton.
Okay.
So not too far
Sure.
from either
Yeah.
one of us. And I spend a lot of time with my family and friends. Uh, I think you had said in a previous interview, or somebody else had said I was watching them, that they say, a lot of people don't understand that this is your family.
Yes.
Um, you
I think I
know,
say that every interview just about now.
yeah, it's so I didn't expect to get as close as I did to the people in my house. So a lot of my time is, it is talking with people that are in my house or hanging out with the friends that I've made. Um, but I do have a healthy lifestyle outside of it with, with my friends outside of the
Sure.
fire service, my family. My business keeps me incredibly busy. And I go to a trainer and just, I have a very healthy lifestyle outside of it that
Good for you.
I try to separate when I can, but it becomes your life. It
It
just
Well, somebody said the other day, this is an addiction, right? And it
correct.
extends. It's the lifestyle that takes you outside the fire department as well. You apply the things
Yes.
that are in the fire department outside of life every day.
Yeah.
And I had another guy who, ironically, he got in the same year I did, which you make me sound ancient, but going on years 20 something, we'll just say that.
Hmm.
But we got in together, and he's what a privilege, and every life
Yeah.
experience that I have comes from
Yep.
this little fire department over here, right?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. So stepping into a combination department, right? So those can be muddy waters. It can be tricky to navigate. Lakeshore
Mhm.
is one of the few fire departments. I've known a few guys at Lakeshore over the years. It's one of the few fire departments that does manage it. So tell me a little bit about
Yeah.
how that works.
I think a good portion of it is, gosh, pardon my language. I'm gonna sound like I'm kissing ass right now. Uh, we have a fantastic chief who really doesn't take any crap from anybody when it
Yep.
comes to poor dynamics between the career and the volunteer staff.
Sure.
I think everywhere has its stuff occasionally. I think we are human beings. That's entirely unavoidable.
Yep.
But I think there's a difference when there's always a level of respect.
Yep.
So I know that whether or not I am speaking to one of my line officers that is on the volunteer side or a line officer on the career side, I am referring to them with the utmost respect, and that's a requirement and that's an expectation.
Okay, that's
Um,
good to hear.
that's never a question.
Yep.
And then I think that if you set that expectation from probably, I would assume from the chief down, I think that just kind of trickles down to everybody. So I think that the people that I've joined after them, they've set that standard for me as well. And so it's just, you know, it's understood that both sides have things to offer,
Yep.
obviously. And, you know, just because I'm a volunteer doesn't mean that I know entirely, boatloads less than a career firefighter, but a career firefighter, we each have our areas in which we can be super beneficial, right? But I think it's, like I said, that respect. The moment you go in and you think you know everything or that you are better than somebody is the moment that
You become
you're
dangerous.
going to ruin it. You're going
Yeah.
to ruin it.
Yep.
Complacency, it'll kill
Toxic and
everything. It's
yes.
so
Yes.
toxic. And
Yes.
so I think our chief has done a really good job. I think our chief and our chief and our deputy chief, and then the line officers from there on out.
Good. Well,
It's
and I
just kind of
don't,
an expectation.
for the record, I don't think it's kissing ass because it's refreshing, right? Because I think the story too often in the volunteer service now that you hear too often, there's a million reasons why the volunteer fire service is hurt, and we're not here to discuss or debate any of those, right? But
Right.
you hear the one that always shakes me to the core is the leadership, right?
Yeah.
And I can attest to my fire department. I've been around a long time. I've seen good times. I've seen bad times. I've seen good times again, and I've seen bad times again.
Hmm.
And we're in a relatively good time now, right? And it always comes down. If you look at the common denominator, it was the leadership. Not always the worst guy at the top, but the most engaged guy sometimes, and that equal flow. So to me, it's refreshing to hear that both sides of the house are respectful. Now, does it ever feel like you have to prove yourself differently around the career firefighters, or have they really molded it and taken the volunteer section under their wing and made them a part of the family?
So I will say this with everything in my life. If I
Yep.
feel that way, it's because I impose that on myself.
Beautiful. Love that answer.
I've had pretty solid anxiety for a good portion of my life. So,
Yep.
I function in fight or flight a lot of times.
Yep.
And actually the fire service has helped me work through a lot of that.
Sure. Sure.
If I feel any type of, that I need to prove myself in front of the career staff. I think if that's how you feel in front of career staff, you should feel that way in front of volunteer staff as well. It doesn't matter because
Amen. I love that answer.
when
I
we're on
love
the
that answer.
fire ground,
Yes.
respectfully, I could give a damn if you're career or volunteer. If I need a ladder someplace or I need to get somebody a ladder, I don't care who you are. Nobody's
Yep.
good enough or too good to
Yep.
go, bring a Halligan to somebody to do anything you need to do, right? Like
Sure.
nobody's too good to do that.
Yep.
And so if there's any proving, I think that's just self-imposed. And I
Yep.
think for me, it's always been proving to myself that I can do a hell of a lot more than I ever thought I would be able to do in my life, because based off of my childhood and my formative years, I shouldn't be emotionally, mentally, physically capable of being a firefighter.
Right.
It shouldn't be in my deck of cards, but here I am now, an interior firefighter, which I never planned on doing. I'm an
It's
EMT
amazing,
now.
right? Though, if you've
Oh my
got it in
God.
you, if you've got it in you and you get
Yep.
involved, right? You put a little dedication in, like, I can't, again, this conversation is refreshing to me, Beck, especially because I assume you're kind of young. Do you mind asking about
I'm
the age
34.
range? 34. Okay. So
Mhm.
all
So
right, so you got in a little bit.
I'm ironically like, I'm kind of, so
Good
there's a
for you.
couple of other people in their 30s in the
Yep.
volunteer staff,
Yep.
in the volley group, but ironically, a good portion of the people that I hang out with in the volley group are
Yep.
either in their like very late teens, early to mid, maybe late 20s, or they are like, 40s, 50s, right?
Yeah. Right. Because you're the
I'm,
beginning or
but
the end.
but we have such like our volley staff, we're so close. We go on trips together, we go camping together, like we have a great time. So it's,
And that's what I was getting at.
I'm kind of in the middle.
That's what I was getting at, right? Once you go through that, people don't understand the overwhelming rewards that are on the other
Oh
side. The
yeah.
family that you gain,
Yeah.
that brother sisterhood vibe. Like, it's easy to say, People say all the time, like, "Oh, you just call everybody bro." No, if you listen to me, I don't call
Yeah.
everybody bro, right? Like, there's certain people I call bro, even on that side. And
Yep.
there's certain, it's everybody in the fire department. And I commend you for starting this in your 30s. It's probably one of the
Thank you.
hardest times, especially nowadays. If I had to do it today, right, to get through BFO and IFO, I have to admit that's a challenge. And I think it is a challenge. There's no doubt that
Yep.
200 hours worth of training between 30 and 50 can be overwhelming. But I think oftentimes what we do is we don't tell the right story, right?
Yeah.
It's not, and one thing that I love that they have done at least is breaking up that BFO IFO program. So if somebody wants to
Oh
get in
my
and get
God.
their
Yeah.
feet wet, you can kind of do it at your pace. You can mold it to your life because let's face it, as dedicated and as committed as we want people to be, we are volunteer and their lives come
Hmm.
first. Their kids come
Yeah.
first. Their moms and dads, their brothers and
Yep.
sisters, work comes first, right? There's a lot of conversation right now about the volunteer fire service, right? We're
Hmm.
talking about numbers that are extremely low.
Yeah.
How is Lakeshore doing as far as volunteers go? If the volunteers don't show up, what changes? Anything in Lakeshore?
If we don't show up,
Yep.
um, so there are times where we don't, right?
Okay.
Like middle of the day.
Yep.
If most of the volunteers who are interior are working full time, right?
Working
So
day shift.
yep. So
Yep.
we have our own jobs. We have things that keep us
Yep.
busy. So during most of your weekdays, if there's something major in the middle of the day, we may not be in attendance.
Yep.
Obviously, you have mutual aid departments,
And
and Greece has 4 departments. So
you've got
very
plenty close
quickly,
by. Yeah.
very quickly, we're
Yep.
getting all of North Greece. We're going to
Yep.
get, we could potentially get Hilton if it's a boat call or a water call in one
Right.
form or another.
But it is
Because
a delayed response, right? I mean, in certain cases, it could lead to
it
a
can
delayed
be.
response.
North Greece has a pretty like quick response time with
Yeah.
us. Like I mean, and they're almost. I know they do have some volunteers,
Yep.
but they're almost entirely career.
Yeah.
And
There's a
and
scattered out
a
there.
good portion of
Yep.
their line officers. Or I should let me reverse that. Almost all of my major officers that taught me in firefighter one are all out of North Greece. So my
Oregon and
my Chief
yep.
Dorgan,
Yep.
Battalion Chief Klein, and
Yep.
Lieutenant Andy Young. I believe he's still a lieutenant. I
Yep.
apologize if he's not, and I'm incorrectly labeling him. But so these 3 main gentlemen were the people that were there for my first however many weeks in the fire service,
Right.
and absolutely saw me lose it
Yeah.
and freak out on the dumbest littlest things that now I'm like okay, I get why that made me nervous,
Right.
but no. So as going back to if we don't show up, you know we're hauling right into asking for mutual aid. It's
Right.
basically what it is.
Right.
And
Well,
if it's like, let's say it's several EMS calls, that's just going to be Lakeshore will go to what they can go to, and the EMS services, they're going to go to what they can go to, but they're also hurting too.
right.
Which is why
Everybody.
we're so important too,
Right.
because I chose to also go get my EMT. So now at this point, I can provide in that arena as well. So we might split off. Like the career staff goes in one direction, volleys go in another, and we just handle our district the best that we can.
Yep. Yep.
So that's
Well,
that's
yeah.
typically how it happens.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I love that, that I'm talking to you because I think this model is going to come into some play in a lot of other areas. Now, Lakeshore does have the benefit of a lot of mutual aid close by.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
like you said, if the career staff is committed to structure fire and North Greece is there and everybody else
Mhm.
is there and a major MVA comes in. And so how many volunteers are we talking about at Lakeshore right
Ooh,
now?
I knew you were going to ask that, and I knew it didn't have like a correct number.
Yeah, it doesn't,
So,
you don't have to be spot
oh,
on.
jeez. Well, so the thing is that we are not in a crisis for volunteers.
Yep.
So like it's crazy how in the past 6 months or so, I think we've added, I think 6 or 7 firefighters.
Yep,
So
which is amazing.
we're not
Yes.
hurting, right? I
Yep.
mean, please, if anybody lives in the Lakeshore Fire District and you want to join,
Yeah.
by all means, we have a
Yeah.
great
Well,
time. Please come. But
it's like you
we
said, in Bergen, we're uniquely fit where we're doing very well But it's that
Mhm.
daytime. What gives me anxiety,
Yeah.
especially as an officer these days, is when I'm at work and the call comes in at 11 o'clock in the morning. And oh boy, looking at bricks going, oh, I hope somebody
Yeah.
shows up. Because, for me, we talk about volunteers, and in Genesee County, there's a lot of things happening, a lot of options on the table.
Mhm.
I'm doing what I can. And like I said, you were just about to go here. I'll take more. I want more because
Yeah.
to me, in this town, since 1861, we've provided nonstop, round the clock volunteer service. And I know time is more valuable today than it's ever been. And I know that life is pulling us in a million more directions than it did 20, 30, 50 years ago.
But you
But
make time for what's worthwhile.
thank you for saying that because,
And you
right,
make
like,
time
yeah,
and you make time for life.
right. When it's
I
the
mean,
pride
and
too,
when I
right?
say that, when I say you make time for life, you make time for other people's lives.
Yep.
Meaning, like, I would sure hope that if something happened to my parents who live in Hilton, that there would be somebody who would real
Sure.
quick roll up to Hilton,
Yep.
staff an engine, and get their butt over to my parents'
Right.
house, which they did do
Yep.
12, 13 years ago when my dad had a stroke.
Yep.
And the fire department showed up, and I knew a couple of the guys on the truck, and they were so kind and sweet with me. And
Yep.
I would certainly hope that if something happened, that they would roll out real quick,
100%. Yep.
It's just you make time for other people's lives because it's important. Our community is important. Now I feel like in the culture that we have just in the world right now, I'm not even talking in the United States, I'm just saying in
Yeah.
the world,
Yep.
we are so disconnected from each other as people. And I
Which
feel
is
which is
amazing, right? Because we're
blows
connected
my
and we're
mind.
disconnected. With the sense of
Yes.
community, you were going there. I have this discussion all the time. One of the things to me that's changed so much is I see it. Back when I got in this fire department, I knew where everyone lived. There were hundreds of houses, and yet I knew the names of the people that lived
Hmm.
there because they lived there for decades. There's people living in this town that, quite frankly, I don't even know if they know we have a district or fire department. They get on 490, they get off 490, drive
Yeah.
to their home, and they're into the
Yep.
city. That's it.
Because
There's
it's
no
so
sense of
rural. Yeah.
community anymore,
Yeah. Exactly.
right? They're here to stay because they don't want to be around a lot of people, but
Yep.
they haven't been here for generations, and that's what's
Yeah.
driven this service. For families stayed here for generations, and
And it's so
not that.
scary to think that if, God forbid, that volunteer service continues to go where it's headed, that there is no such thing as a volunteer fire service. Because I got to be honest with you, I know I've only been in for 2.5 years, but it's what it's done for my life personally, like not even for what I'm able to do for the house or for like what it gives me as far as just going to help, but what it's
Yeah,
done for me personally with like friends I've made, with the skills that I've learned, with the confidence that it's given me and
yeah,
that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Um, it would be detrimental,
yeah,
like life altering. I don't know,
yeah.
like, because it's so funny. I joke with, so my best girlfriend in the firehouse, her name is Mary, and I call her my partner at the firehouse anytime I talk to like my clients and stuff, because I'll be like, oh, my partner, and they're like, oh, Mary, they know who I'm
Yep.
talking about. It was, we became such good friends because when I joined, she had just finished. So we have an in-house training program for exterior, and then once you complete that, then you can start riding the engine, and then you head to firefighter one.
And then yeah, yeah,
And not everybody has that in-house program, so I felt really happy that we did.
yep.
So the one thing is that one day, she had been in for a little bit. I just joined, and I kind of, we're in the truck bay here, and I kind of look at her, and we're with our, friends and family
Which
are here just hanging out.
Which,
And I
by
turn
the
to her and I
way,
go,
that is the model. Like that is the model that I've
yes,
tried to implement. Get your feet wet, get trained, get on a
yeah,
scene, get on a few calls,
which
find
should be,
out if it's
yeah.
for you before you
There were
invest the
too many.
time.
There were too many people in firefighter one that didn't even know how to put out the turnout
Well,
codes. It was
right.
a little scary,
Well,
But so,
but I think it's important for people to get a taste because there's nothing worse than
oh yeah,
investing all of your life and then
all
finding out that
life.
it's not for you,
And then
right?
also for the house, the money too, because
Right,
if
absolutely.
we don't have people, we don't got the money either. So
Absolutely.
it's
And
hard
then
enough as it is.
you also touched on a very important thing because I think as a fire service, we've done a terrible job at communicating. We're great at talking to each other, right? We are
Yeah.
100% fantastic at that, but we suck at talking to the community, right? We talk about mental health a lot and we talk about it in such a negative way, okay? And
Hmm.
oh, you got to deal with this and deal, but what you're describing is the
Yeah.
opposite end of that and what it's done positively for your mental health, just as
Because
much as
I
it can
don't
bear
tolerate
that.
it.
Well, right,
Because I
but
don't
I'm
tolerate
saying
it.
for the right person, this is that
Yes.
drug that you need. It's not
Yeah.
that depression pill. It's that community and it's that
Yep.
family and it's that doing something that's bigger for yourself or bigger than
Yeah.
yourself. I'm sorry.
Yep.
And that is the ultimate depression. Obviously, what we deal with there is a negative side to mental health, and I'm all
Oh,
in for it.
absolutely. Yeah.
But we so often when we're talking to the public, you got to remember 99% of the calls we go on are not structure fires. It's a
Right.
community service call. It's a gas leak. It's a
It's a lip assist. It's a,
minor
yeah, it's
car
a chest
accident.
pain. Yeah.
We get the serious ones, yes, and I'm not downplaying that for a minute. We've got to be ready for it. But
Hmm.
if you're looking to make a difference, sometimes it's just going to holding an old lady's hand while you help her to the ambulance or get on the
Oh,
gurney.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I love that. That's awesome. So
Yep.
we got a few more minutes here.
Yep.
And so I want to talk a little bit about, again, getting back to your house. So
Mhm.
we were beginning to talk about how I'd love to take more. I'd love to take more. So here I
Yeah.
am. Okay. My name's Paul Cummings, and I just moved to Lakeshore Fire District. You've
Mhm.
got 3 minutes. I just walked up to the door. Becca, I don't know anything about this, right? I don't
Yep.
know anybody, just moved here, but all I know is I've got a calling. There's something in my heart, which obviously I have the heart of the volunteer, not to be all
Hmm.
cheesy, right? I have that. Becca, you got 3 minutes. I'm tight for time. Can you tell me why I should spend the rest of my time devoted to here?
Yeah. I mean,
No
way
pressure at
to put me
all.
on the spot, bro, you
No
know.
pressure.
Um,
But
um,
this is kind of the conversation that I'd like us to start having, right? Like
yeah,
you got,
I think that if I think that if I could talk to myself walking in almost 3 years, because I applied 3 years ago, so I started about 6 months later. If I had had somebody when I walked in and said, why should I join beyond the community? It's the skills of being able to be self-sufficient and
yeah.
to be able to help yourself, especially as a woman in the fire service.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people don't like to focus on the being a female in the fire service thing.
Tell me a
But
little bit about that.
I think it's so important to
Yep.
talk about being a female in the fire
Yep.
service. Um, you
Oh,
know,
Becca, let's talk.
there is a
Let's stop for a
okay.
second. Do you feel any? I'm curious. I have a lot of
Yeah.
great women in our fire department. Some of them are
Yep.
my best friends, and I've been here since, I watched their journey start and have
Hmm.
flourished. Tell me, and we've tried, I treat them like one of the guys. I don't look at them
Yep.
as female, right? Where they're just one of the crew. But tell me from your perspective how that's been for you over the last 2.5 years. Do you feel extra pressure? Do you feel you ever feel like I don't know how to describe it. Tell me about that experience because
No,
obviously I can't I haven't lived it.
I don't feel extra pressure because I don't think that it's acceptable to set me aside
Yep,
because I have a different set of anything. I
absolutely.
think
Yep,
now that being said,
yep,
I think that there are different things that need to be accounted for when that comes into play.
yep,
For example, when you're putting turnout gear on, turnout gear is going to fit me a little
yep.
different than it's going to fit you
I
because
used
I
to
have different
size
body
gear.
parts,
I used to size
because
gear, and that was
okay, see,
impossible.
it's impossible because it's made for men. So like, okay,
Men have if
I have a chest, but
yes,
then because
yes.
I have a chest, the base of it is like out to here. And I'm like, cool, I'm slimming in my freaking turnout gear. Awesome. We love this.
I
But
know.
so no, I don't think that there's extra pressure per se. I do think that I think that is as far as oh God, how would I word it? I think maybe as far as expectations go, I think taking into account maybe teaching something needs to be adjusted a little bit because of what we're working with,
Right.
because women genetically are not as strong in upper body strength by any means, right? So like me carrying a ladder or me, even, we oh gosh, it was several months ago we were doing a makeup drill. It was me and my partner at the house, Mary. And so two females, right? We joined at the same time. Well, we did firefighter one at the same time. All of our training we've done together. She
Yep.
and I have done this whole thing together. She is my bestie for the restie. I just, she's my girl. And we finally have started to split away from each other a little bit because there's nothing to say I'm going to be on the same truck as her anymore. And
Right.
she's trying to go career. I'm not.
Right.
So
Right.
we need to separate a little bit. So, but that being said, like we were doing some ground ladder work and, I wanted to be proficient enough with spiking the ladder that any size ladder that I could just throw that shit up and let's go. Like, I don't want to
Yeah,
sit here effing
absolutely.
around with it.
Yep.
And so, it took a lot more because there is that upper body strength, but like, I can do it. Give me a damn second. Let me
Yep.
figure out the body mechanics of how that works
Yep.
for me. I can still do this, you
Absolutely.
know? And I think that what I've realized within our house is one, we do have a female lieutenant who's on duty. She's a career firefighter.
Yep.
badass bitch. I think that I think so highly of her.
That's
I think that she, without knowing it, paves the way to an
yep,
extent. She makes it feel accessible.
sure.
And then we also have there's a female that has been in the service with Lakeshore for several years now. She's an exterior firefighter and she is also an RN. So, with her knowledge of EMS, she's really guided me in the EMS side of things. So I think it's more so just understanding that just because I'm a female doesn't mean I can't do this. Just
Mhm.
because I'm not a size 2 female doesn't mean I can't do it. In fact, my favorite thing to do is forcible entry because I'm a big girl and I can open that damn door.
Let's
So
go.
like
Let's go.
it's one of my favorite things. Like if we get there and like when the day comes that like I show up to a fire and I happen to be because I ride along with the career staff
Yep.
several times a month.
Yep.
I am waiting for my moment right
To
now.
just
I'm
to
waiting.
just get that door.
I'm waiting to go open
I
that damn thing.
so there was an
I'm waiting
EMS
for that.
call a couple of years ago and the door was locked. It came in, the lady had fallen, old lady, she had fallen, the door
Yeah.
was locked. So I'm like, oh, I went down the fire hall. I don't do many EMS calls. I used to be an EMT, but I don't anymore
Yeah.
with the kids and I got a lot going on. But I
Yep.
heard that one. I'm like, oh, okay. I
Yeah.
finally we don't get to do forcible entry that often, right? I'm like,
It's
I'm
like
ready
it's
to
like
go.
twice a year with the Challenger, like
Right, right. So yeah, so I go up to the door, and if it wasn't for the medic checking the window, I was ready to rock. I
see
was
that's
gonna
my
rock
thing
him.
is that I'm like before we even get there, I'm like, we gotta get the door. I got it. I could do
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Like I'm ready.
yeah,
I'm ready. I'm ready to go. And I'll be like, I call the door,
yeah.
I'll be like,
It'll
hey
come.
Lou, like I want,
It'll,
if I'm in,
it'll come.
if I'm on the engine with a bunch of volleys and it's just volleys that are on our engine, if we've come over here and staffed up on our truck and we're heading out for something, I'm like, yo, there's a door, it's mine. Like everybody knows, like that's
Yeah.
my,
Good for you.
everybody has their
But
stuff that we like to do. So, but
yep,
like no
yep,
matter if you're female, male, it doesn't matter. Like it just, we have an incredibly diverse department for the most
yep.
part. Like we really have a little bit of everything.
So let's talk for
Um,
a second. Let's talk for that. So
yeah.
if you're,
Yeah.
what does it take, right? What does it take to be a lakeshore firefighter? You tell
Okay.
me real quick
So
in a summer. We've got like 5 more minutes. So,
yeah. Um, dedication. You gotta
oh, did I lose you?
show up. You
Okay.
gotta be here. If you're not gonna be here and if you're not gonna put in the work, we're good.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we're good.
It's dedication. You got to
Yep.
show up. If you're not going to be here, and I don't mean that to like scare anybody off, but it's like, it takes a lot out of my two lieutenants who are line officers for the volunteer
Yep.
side. It takes a lot out of them to train
Yep.
you and then to get you through firefighter one and everything. And they have their own full-time jobs and they're doing their own things, right?
Yep.
So if you want this, come in. Everybody will guide you and help you. If you walk into that, like if I go over to headquarters right now and it's going to be 7:30 at night on a Friday, and if I walk in and I ask whatever crew is on duty right now, hey, I want to go outside and I want to, because we have the Challenger and we just did forcible entry last week. I want to go do some more forcible entry.
So,
They're going to go out there
yeah.
with me. They're going to be
And they're
like, all right,
essentially
let's
going to
do
meet
it.
you where you're at. And that's where I was going with
Yes.
this, right? So it doesn't
Yes.
matter. You don't have to
I
be,
didn't know a damn thing.
yep,
I knew like a little bit of language, but
yep.
I had been told by the person that, I had been around for so long that volunteering was absolutely not a possibility for me. And so
I
you
love
kind of get
hearing
that in
that
your
comeback
head.
story. I love hearing that comeback story.
Well, when I said I joined for the wrong reasons,
Yeah.
like, you know,
But it turned
but
out to be a good thing. Turned out to be a
yes,
great thing.
I mean, some of them are still like good
Yeah.
reasons. Like, I mean, I joined because I wanted to prove it to that person, but I also wanted to prove it to myself that
Well,
I
it
could do
turns
more
into
than
that.
I.
It turns into
Yeah,
that. I
and
think that's what
oh
I always
yeah,
tell people.
oh
Like,
yeah,
if you just give it an ounce of dedication, the
yes,
rewards on the other side, like
yep,
you just give it to yourself. And that's why I always, like I said, I love what you guys do with the exterior program because if you just give people a taste of it, get on a
yeah,
couple scenes, you'll want to take class.
yep.
You're going to want to do it.
Yeah, and
So
the thing is that the thing is that if you show up and like you said in other ones, literally walking through the door is the hardest part. Don't get me
it's,
wrong. I've been in for 2.5 years. I'm an interior firefighter. I have my EMT. I've already taken EVOC. I'm taking pump ops this year. I want to get water trained for ice water rescue, swift water, and just water rescue in
yep.
general. We also have, because we have the boats and everything. Some days I'm still like, oh my God, I don't know if I can go do this today. Like everybody has that
Yeah.
self-doubt, but
Yeah.
it's a matter of if I walk in and if I'm really going through it that day, I can go to somebody and say, listen, I may not be at my best for training
Yeah.
tonight, but I'm gonna do everything I can.
Usually,
And that's all they need from you.
usually for me, I'll be in a pissy mood or whatever, and as soon as I walk through the door, like it's
It's so
just
much
like
better.
it just changes. Like it's
It's
just a
so much
place.
better because
It's a
everybody,
safe
if they know
place.
you're, if they know you're in a
Yep.
pissy mood, they're gonna F around with you, which
Yeah,
like
but it
kind of
brings you.
changes it for you.
Yeah, it brings you
It
out of
brings you
it
right
though.
out of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
So
just, it's a really unique thing to be a part of,
yeah.
and I can't imagine what my life would be like without it anymore. And it's
So
just
real
a thing
quick, my
where,
last question, actually, while we
yeah.
got another minute, what would you miss the most?
Oh my
Top
God,
thing, what would you miss? Top three things, what would you miss the most if it was gone tomorrow?
my family,
Amen.
my
Top, then that's
family.
probably the top three, then four, or
because
however many.
because my because my partner Mary in the house, like she is my best girlfriend outside of my best friend that I've been with, but been I grew up with since I was 6.
Yep.
Mary is my go-to girl. I call her at least once a day for anything.
That's
We are
awesome.
constantly out and about doing things together.
Yep.
My two lieutenants, Lieutenant Mark Knowles and Lieutenant Eric Quigley. Mark was the soft, gentle hand that I needed initially, and he came up to me day one, and he brought me aside, and he goes, "I'm getting you through this, point blank." And I was like,
Awesome.
"Okay,
It's good to have
um,
people like that. Like you can't replace that.
yes,
There's not many
yep,
organizations you can
no,
go join that'll
Lieutenant,
give you that.
yeah." Lieutenant Quigley is he's the tougher hand that I needed, and he has been, like both of them have almost been like second dads to me, where they just are. If I need them for something, they've got me. But it's also like Lieutenant Quigley will be like, "Girl, but you know how to do this, and you should know how to." So like he gives me the tough hand, so I
Yep.
get the best of both worlds.
Yep.
But I call them for anything I need. Like
Yeah.
I was really sick last January, and I'm in my apartment. I called my mom because I actually thought, I was like, I think I might be dying. I need to go to the hospital. And she gets
They're
there
there.
and she goes, "What do you want me to do?" I go, "Call Mark, who's my lieutenant." I go, "Call Mark,"
Yeah.
because I knew that Mark would give
He'll be
her,
there.
and I knew that he would tell me what I needed to hear, which was either you need to go to the hospital or suck it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were there.
Yep.
I had a bad training this past September,
Yep.
and I got pulled from interior duty for a little bit because I really screwed up, and I had to go to the hospital because of it. And it wasn't anything that was genuinely life threatening, but it could have been.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in
You
in
learn.
tow,
Yeah.
in tow, I had the deputy chief, I had my captain, well, he was my captain, my lieutenant, and I had my best friend firefighter on their way to the hospital with me to make sure I was good to go.
Yeah.
It's family, and
Yeah.
it's irreplaceable.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Well, Becca, thank you
yeah,
so much for taking a few
thank
minutes.
you.
And
I appreciate you so much.
when we get rolling, obviously, lots going to come up with this. I hope it takes off. I hope we can reach the
Yeah.
public with it. I hope we can have, really at the root of it. I just want to find out, and I don't know how much of my backstory, we don't have a lot of time, but I had a fortunate, unique perspective of this, not just being in the fire service, but I got to tour the country, doing some music.
Oh, I know.
Um,
I've known your music for quite a long
all
time.
right, very cool. Well, you know a little bit about them. Well, I've had a lot of chances to talk to people from all over the country and see the
Yeah.
different challenges. And this is not something that started yesterday. This is something that started such a long time ago. And
Yeah.
at the root of it, though, we're all the same in some regard. There's a common denominator, and I know that there's millions of other people in the country that feel that. They just
Hmm.
haven't crossed that bridge yet. So
Yeah.
this conversation here will help that, and I hope that down the road we can have another conversation. We'll go a little bit more in depth.
Yeah.
We'll sit down longer, maybe talk
Yeah.
some more war stories and
Once I have a couple
triumph,
more,
and
once
we'll
I
see where
have
you're
some
at.
some big fires under my belt, but yeah.
Absolutely. Well, hey,
Yeah.
good luck to you. I really appreciate
Thank
it,
you.
and
Thank you.
I can't wait for this one to air. So thanks again.
Question for you.
Sure.
So I leave on Sunday for FDIC. Have you been before?
I have. It was now 10 years ago.
Any recommendations on just
So
like anything I need to know?
the only thing so all the bars are good. I can't remember the name of the one, but there's a
I
block
love how
party.
everybody's saying bars. I'm saying,
The,
Captain, I'm saying anything I should like.
well, you don't have to
Let me
drink
just,
the bands, right? So
yeah.
screw the alcohol. It's the bands. But there are honestly there's some Irish music going on. There's a lot of good stuff going on, and it's just a lot of fun. What hopefully you're taking some good classes. It's just top notch
Yeah.
training. So.
Yeah, I'm in 3 live fires, and then I'm in one class. It's like based off
Yeah,
like body mechanics and
you're
movement.
gonna
So
come back
yeah,
with such if you talk to anybody that goes, you come back with such a renewed
I'm so
passion
excited.
Oh, you come back on fire, like
I'm
literally,
so
you ready
excited.
to like just go to town. So good
And we
luck.
have a new recruit class coming through, so hopefully that'll help us with
Well,
that
maybe
too.
we'll touch base after FDIC and see what kind
Sounds
of,
good.
we'll see if you've taken a
Sounds
couple
good.
notches up the badass schedule or the
We'll
badass
listen. We'll
scale.
see. We'll see.
All right. Thanks, Beck. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Bye bye.